Houston Rockets basketball is finally back, which is really awesome for us given what the Texans have looked like this year and how the Astros played down the stretch. That said, I'm sensing a lot of anger after what was an incredible game to tip off the season for our beloved Rockets. What gives? I've got a theory. Plus, my old friend, co-host Vanessa Richardson, Rockets sideline reporter for Space City Home Network, joins me to preview the remaining 81 games of this Rockets season. And we're hearing some really weird things coming out of the Houston Texans organization after that awful loss to the Seahawks. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is a pre-recorded edition of the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Grow up, mother. Are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi!
Oi! Oi! Oi! Oi! Ziggy-zag, ziggy-zag, oi, oi, oi.
Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Not live, pre-recorded on YouTube at Paul Gallant, Twitch at Gallant Says, X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can normally catch this show Monday through Friday at noon Central Time and occasionally after major sporting events here in Houston. You can also get it after the fact via podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you ever have a question, shoot me an email the old-fashioned way, gallantsays@gmail.com, or you can leave a voicemail or text at 281-836-3912. Again, that's 281-836-3912. The Rockets opened up their season last night with an incredible game, with an incredible presentation via NBC. You had Roundball Rock. You had Mike Tirico on the call. You had a halftime interview with Michael Jordan. It was the first game of the year. It felt like a playoff game. Then the game actually happened, and the Rockets took the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder to 2 overtimes. They did this despite an unconventional starting lineup that had no true point guard. Amen Thompson was getting his first opportunity in that role. You had also Jabari Smith, Kevin Durant, two pretty big forwards, and the double big lineup with Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün. The Rockets lost this game, and there are definitely some things to nitpick coming out of it, but I want to start with the positive. Your point guard, who was the only reason you had a chance to beat the Warriors in the postseason last year, Fred VanVleet, tore his ACL, and you are going to be trying to figure out how to play without him for the first couple of weeks, first couple of months of the season until you can potentially trade for somebody, and then you're going to have to deal with it after the fact. To take the defending champions to 2 overtimes with that holding you back is something that is worthy of praise. Sure, the Rockets aren't sneaking up on anybody anymore, as we're going to talk about with Vanessa Richardson in a little bit. They're not catching anybody by surprise. Still, last night, I thought, was fun to see. I mean, shit. Texans football's been brutal. Watching Texas football has been brutal. If you're an Aggies fan, you're probably the only person living in the Houston area that's happy with their sports team. The Astros had an awful last month of the year with all the injuries that they were trying to overcome. So to see a sports game that was actually enjoyable last night, I was happy. Yes, I was happy. Someone who many consider to not even be a fan of sports at all. No, I just get mad at the bad sports. So last night's game, a welcome change of pace. And yet, it's very interesting to see some of the reactions to last night's game. There is no denying that there were some struggles. Kevin Durant down the stretch. He had a Chris Webber moment at the end of the first overtime. He didn't hit one three-pointer. Hell, none of the Rockets could hit three-pointers last night. They were 11 for 39. Amen Thompson at least had the confidence to shoot, but it didn't go so well. It's going to take him some time, I think, as he figures out how to also be a distributor, point guard at the NBA level, because someone needs to initiate this offense. And yeah, at times, that didn't look great. Reed Sheppard came into the game, and while Reed Sheppard played 28 minutes, he didn't look like he was particularly confident in this game. The only way he gets more confident is with more playing time, but lots of people online are pissed about Reed Sheppard to the point that he was trending. They're looking at a 28.2% performance from outside. They're mad at Amen Thompson. Oh, why didn't the shot improve so much in one offseason? There's a lot of anger out there, and I think I know where it comes from. It comes from you being pissed at the Texans and you being pissed at the Astros. I'm not saying to be a sunshine and rainbow fan of the Houston Rockets for the entirety of this year. All I am saying is realize that this is a significantly better product than the two things that you have been watching for the last couple of months, and try to enjoy it. We're one night back. We're already having hard conversations reacting to this like it's an NFL playoff game. Fucking relax. Relax. Celebrate that we had a good game last night, and celebrate that Alperen Şengün, who Vanessa's going to talk about in a little bit, had an incredible game in his first game back from Eurobasket. 39 points. He was bullying people inside. 10 of 11 at the free throw line. 11 rebounds. 7 assists. And, whoa, most awesome of all, he was 5 of 8 from outside. He was shooting the three ball a little bit more. During Eurobasket, I did not think we would see him shoot it this much. 8 3-point attempts. He made 5 of them. He was unstoppable last night. To the point, and this is a great geopolitical reference, if he continues this season, could he overthrow, topple Erdogan? Paul, you're so on top of what's going on in the world, current events, all that jazz. Yes, it's true. Don't be upset now that you've actually seen a good team play its sport after all of this tough time. Stop taking out your Astros anger. Oh, the shot fired John Spada. Lieutenant Brown, fuck up. Or your Texans frustration. Nick Kelly, more like Nick Faley. I'm riffing here. DeMeco Ryans, more like DeMeco has me crying. CJ Stroud, more like CJ, getting plowed. Oh, sorry, CJ, that's not nice. You guys need to stop taking your frustration from the Texans and Astros out on the Rockets, okay? That's all. Anyway, yesterday I caught up with my old radio co-host at ESPN Houston and very good friend, Vanessa Richardson. She is the sideline reporter for Space City Home Network. She's been doing a great job covering the Rockets. I thought it was going into her third year. This is her fourth season covering the team already after having worked at ESPN Houston with me and at Channel 2. Apologies in advance. I don't know what the fuck happened with the interview setup, but my microphone, instead of this one right here, for some reason, my webcam is the one that picked up the audio. So my audio quality isn't great, but you're here for Vanessa anyway.
A very special guest joining the Gallant Says podcast, going into what's got to be the most exciting season. Number 3 for you, right, Vanessa? Covering the Houston Rockets.
4.
Kevin Durant's aboard. This is 4?
This is 4.
Holy shit. Okay, so time has really flown by.
I know. It's crazy.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crazy. Yeah, and I obviously lived in Houston for 2.5 years before I took this job. I was at KPRC and then obviously 97.5 with you. So I was here when they had Harden and Westbrook, and I saw all of that happen. I wasn't covering the team up close the way I am now, but I was still here covering the sports scene. So it is a pretty incredible feeling to have watched it go, the way that it went. And then now, one of the best ever being on the roster and the young guys looking the way that they do.
How different are the vibes now? You mentioned Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like so many of our the young guys, everybody looks up to Kevin, right? Like that's not revolutionary, but you've got young guys that want to learn from him, and the guys, the coaching staff that has the connections to him, and then a bunch of, we've got a bunch of Longhorn guys on the staff. So the vibes are immaculate. And
Ah,
I felt great heading into last season. I did have a feeling that they were going to shock the league, and that is what they did. This year, there's no shocking anybody. You've got one of the best to ever do it, and the target is on their back, but I think that they're ready for it.
I saw you got a sit down with Kevin Durant. I think across the league, both from those who watch it and those who cover it, there's so many different thoughts on who he is as a person. I think some of them
Right.
have been unfair. I actually
Agreed.
respect how online he is. I think it's awesome. Sometimes people need to be clapped back
Yes,
at for
they
some of
need
the
to be
stuff they say
checked.
online.
I agree. You and I one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, you know, don't give them any attention, like don't sink to their level. Every now and then people need checked. So I am a fan of Kevin's clapbacks, and they're pretty epic.
Yeah, they're funny. You got to sit down with him for a one-on-one, and I'm sure you've talked with him more than that. What are your first impressions of who he is as a person?
Yeah, I had met him and interviewed him throughout the years at different times, but obviously have never been this up close to him this often. And I had only heard good things, not only from other media members, but from other coaches and whatnot and players. And so it's been really cool so far. I think the way that he leads is by example, right? Like he's not going to be the rah rah, super loud guy, but you don't need to be that. He's been a great leader for the guys so far. They're learning a lot from him. I think him and Ime having the relationship they have is really important, and him respecting Ime, and it just seems like yes, the vibes are high, and I think that he's the Rockets are a good fit for him, and I think he's a good fit for the Rockets. And it's not obviously like it's not always like that when a guy joins a team. We have seen in different sports, big picture, but even in the NBA, where it doesn't always work out with somebody joining a team the way that people think that it will. But this really feels like a good fit for him.
Also, Royal Ivy, one
Oh
of
my
his
God.
longtime friends. What's
Dexter
their back
Pittman?
and forth like?
Dexter Pittman is on the Rockets video room staff, and then you've got Royale Ivy, and then DJ Augustine is in the front office.
I
So
forgot about that.
yeah, so it's like it's really cool. It's really cool and very organic. And I asked Kevin about that in our sit down. I said, is it important for you to win with guys that you really like and feel connected to? And he said, yeah, at this stage in my career, it is important. And so it's definitely a brotherhood that they have. It is, you see them joking around every now and then, but it's definitely all business. The goal is to win a championship, but it is cool. It's like any of us that go way back decades, or that go back to the people we've known since we were in college. It's like that's a different level of knowing somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a different level. And so it's really cool to see all of them interact and for everybody be on the same page.
I'm very curious as to how Durant enjoys this experience. This is a guy that we have at times seen become unhappy in certain situations. It does feel, though, like the table is set in so many different ways for this to succeed, whether it's some of the guys you just outlined that he's worked with before, that he's working with now, and also all these young guys who are looking up to him, who I'm sure are going to take his leadership a lot better than maybe someone that's the same age as him, that's been playing at the same time as him. I've got to watch that documentary that involves Durant and involves Harden. And I think Russell Westbrook was in it as well. Starting five, right?
Yes,
because
good.
I am curious what that was like just compared to what this situation is going to be.
The documentary is just on the subject of the documentary, like that access was unbelievable. because you have James Harden talking about his journey and his kid, and we've never heard James talk about his child before.
Yes.
And you're witnessing Tyrese Halliburton, probably the worst moment of his life, right? Like ACL tear in the finals. It's just very up close and personal, but I think it was a good perspective of Kevin as well. So yeah, I highly recommend. That one was really good. Court of Gold was really good. The Olympic documentary, like a well done documentary with that kind of access, is hard to beat.
I know, it makes you jealous, huh?
Oh my God. Well, it's just a new era of, what athletes and coaches want us to see versus not see. But I do give credit to the guys that keep those cameras rolling in those hard moments, unlike Bill Belichick. Oh, hey, Paul, Patriots fan.
I was wondering when that was going to come.
Unlike Bill Belichick, who scrapped the documentary at UNC. But, that's neither here nor there.
Do you know what I've been doing with that? And my girlfriend has sent me several TikToks explaining what's going on with Belichick and his girlfriend at North Carolina, and I have just said I'm just not going to watch it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I'm just going to be sad.
The leaked video from Pablo Torre of Bill Belichick being like, graphics just aren't Joe's thing. Like, he's just not a graphic guy. Like, the way that Bill was talking to, like, we've never even heard him go that in depth on football as he was on graphics. The wrong woman will ruin your life.
Yeah, I'm just glad the Patriots are good again. That's all I'm happy about. Congratulations to your Colts, also very good again.
Thank you, Danny Dimes.
What is going on? It's wild. And Jonathan Taylor, 10 touchdowns in 7 weeks.
I know.
It's crazy. Bringing it back to the Rockets. So Durant signs the extension.
Yeah.
He left a lot of money on the table to do it. And my first thought was, well, damn, if that's leaving a lot of money on the table, then I'm just depressed because I'll take all of that money on the table.
I think any of us would. It was funny, like Amin Thompson didn't realize it yesterday that he had left that money on the table. And I think Ben DeBose said something to him about it. And Ben goes, for real? What a generous guy. So, yeah, it shows that he is, and look, I don't know the details of the contract. Obviously, Shams, my ESPN coworker, tends to be right. And Ime said, yes, he left some money on the table. So I believe that is true. And it shows that Kevin really cares about winning right now. And you might say, duh, don't all players, not this late in their career, and not after they've won titles and been MVP.
LeBron.
He really, really cares. Yeah, I mean, he really cares about winning. And for him to, with the new CBA, and that's another thing I don't pretend to completely understand, but you've got the second apron and you've got, having a young core, like you have to pay them and you're going to have to pay them in next summer. So it shows that he really wants to win.
Tari Eason, meanwhile, no extension. And on one hand, surprising because you would think that the Rockets would be trying to make sure that they have a guy like him around, given how valuable he is. But also not that surprising given this offseason where he said he was frustrated that he wasn't listed as a top 100 player. He had a pretty rough series against the Warriors in the playoffs, but I understand the belief that he has in himself, and I'm curious as to how this season's going to go for him coming off the bench. Were you surprised that the two sides weren't able to come to terms?
I just kind of leave that to them. And I think, this morning at Shoot Around, I saw somebody uploaded a video. I believe it was Danielle Lerner, maybe, where Tari said it's a business. He understands the business, but his goal is to win a championship with the Rockets. And I fully believe that. I fully believe Tari wants to be with the Rockets. I fully believe the Rockets want Tari to be here. He's somebody that is a difference maker. And I think I have a special spot in my heart, for him and Jabari, because my first year as the team reporter was their first year. They were rookies. And so I've watched every moment of their career. I've watched every moment of their professional career and up close. And so I would never bet against Tari Eason. And I know how much the Rockets love Tari, and I know how much Tari loves the Rockets. And So I certainly hope that that he's a Rocket for a very long time. I know also that I don't think it's I understand why fans are impatient, but I think it's tough to judge a player within the first couple years of their career, especially somebody who's had some injuries. So I think that the best of Tari is still to come for sure.
There's so many players that play the game on this team in a style that I really like, just compared to the James Harden era, which not my cup of tea. I know some people really enjoyed the
offense, play small, shoot three, blah, blah. Yeah.
Right. I kind of like a little football in my basketball.
Yeah, I'm the
I
same
like
way.
what Eason does.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Thompson too.
Yeah.
The worst news this offseason, Fred VanVleet tearing his ACL. I feel awful for him. Partly, I felt like he shut up a lot of critics of him in the playoffs with that awesome series he had against the Warriors where he was shooting the lights out. I thought people were unfair with VanVleet at times last season. But now you got to ask that difficult question, who's going to play point? We saw the Rockets announce the starting lineup yesterday where it's Amen Thompson with a lineup that also features Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, Alperen Şengün, and on top of that, Steven Adams.
Massive.
Huge lineup. There's a bunch of tall dudes out there. Do you think that that's going to be Thompson's role primarily, the point guard? Or are they going to rotate Reed Shepherd in? I'm really curious as to how they look at that position for this season.
Yeah, me too. When I did a one-on-one with Ime Udoka on media day, he had said that it could change on night to night. I mean, I think that they are going to want to have a solid starting five, obviously, but you're seeing more and more double big in the league. You're seeing it with OKC. You're seeing it with the Clippers. You're seeing versions of it. They've talked about doing it this year in Denver. So I think there could be different nights that warrant different lineups. And I do know that the Rockets really believe in Reed Shepherd. People need to be patient with Reed. He was drafted number 3 overall to a team that had way different aspirations than the average team that has a top pick. And now you've got the leader, Fred VanVleet, and as somebody that's at every practice and every shoot around, however valuable you think his leadership was, times it by 10. Fred's unbelievable. And now he's out. So look, Amen played point guard at Overtime Elite. He and his twin brother Asar both love having the ball in their hands. And I think I saw even JB Bickerstaff said something to the media about, going to try to get the ball in Asar's hands more, because that's just the Twins. That's what they did. That's what they grew up doing. So look, that's the starting lineup for tonight. I don't know for a fact if that will be the starting lineup for the rest of the season, but I do know for a fact that one of the things that the coaching staff likes about this team is the versatility. They really like that. And it's going to get even better when Jay Sean and Dorian Finney-Smith come back with the defensive versatility. So I do know for a fact that the versatility is something that they think is a strength of the roster, and that's not true on every NBA roster. Not every NBA roster do you have a lineup where you could go massive, or as Craig Ackerman likes to say, short kings lineup. So I do know for a fact that they like the versatility, and I think that you're going to see some interesting and some creativity this year.
Well, that's certainly intriguing. And while we're on Reed Shepherd,
yeah,
you say, hey, be patient with him. And I'm with you. It's funny. I keep on seeing things pop up on social media. It's pre-draft comparisons. And I went down a rabbit hole last week after his big performance where he had 29 points, and artificial intelligence. After I had looked up, wasn't there somebody who said that he was like Steve Nash in an Athletic article this offseason, which sounds like wishful, very optimistic expectations for his ceiling. So I click on the artificial intelligence and I ask, make some comparisons between Steve Nash and Reed Shepherd. And it's like 2 pages. And then the next thing it ends with is that, would you like to see Chris Paul, Reed Shepherd comparisons? And I'm like, okay, this is a lot. Artificial intelligence, more unrealistic than the average diehard Rockets fan. We're going to see him play more this year, I would imagine. To what you were saying a little bit ago, maybe there are some nights he starts. Maybe there's some nights that he comes off of the bench. But I guess just given what you're seeing in training camp, and not trying to make you speculate too much, are you expecting to see a lot more of him this season than last year?
Well, I think they really believe in him. And by the way, where's the Mark Price? The number one comparison was Mark Price. That was like, Calvin Murphy had said that too. Yeah, I just think I believe in letting people grow at, and again, he is in such a unique situation. Like I want you to look me in the eye and tell me that he wouldn't be playing significant minutes and starting if he was with the Brooklyn Nets. Come on. Like he this just is what it is. A lot of it in the NBA is the situation that you're drafted into. And last season they sent him to the G League for 3 games, I believe, and they sent one of the assistant coaches, Josh Bostic, who had played in the G League, down there with him. And Reed came back refreshed and was like, I loved it. I needed it. It was good for my mentals. So of course, I think we're going to see a lot of Reed Shepherd. But they've got Aaron Holiday, and Aaron Holiday is a seasoned vet that, when they've needed a veteran guard presence and some quick threes, he's provided that. So I do think that they have a lot of different routes that they can go. But what a great situation for Reed, a coaching staff that really believes in him, a front office that really believes in him. And he's just so mature. Like, he's got those intangibles and that work ethic. So I have no worries about Reed Shepherd. Like, I really don't. Again, just like the maturity, like, I have no worries.
He does a lot of little things. You see his size and maybe you don't expect him to do it. And I mean, this sounds like
he's athletic.
Right, he is. I mean, look at us. We're sounding like we're talking about white wide receivers here. The little things, the work ethic. He's scrappy, but I mean, he does all those things. He's weirdly really good at blocking shots.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as some of the other players, I'm curious. You're with these guys so often,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a long period during the summer where you're off at ESPN and they're doing their own thing in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
You come back, and I'm sure you noticed some of the changes from seeing these guys on a day-to-day basis. So whether it's just what they look like physically, bigger, stronger, svelter, or maybe from a demeanor perspective, or from what you're seeing at practice, just an overall play style, has there been one mini transformation over the last couple of months that's really jumped out to you?
Yeah, Alperin looked insanely confident after Eurobasket. He just looked like, I think that experience was so good for him for a lot of reasons, right? Some of it is off the court. His family gets to see him play in every game, and the world, I mean, they made it to the final. Like, the world was able to really see him. He looked super, super confident. Jabari looked like he put on a lot of muscle, and he works out all summer. He'll go back home to Atlanta. He'll work out with his dad, but he looked like he gained a lot of muscle, and then Reed Shepherd did as well. So yeah, everybody does their own thing, but the Rockets are really good about sending coaches different places. Like, they sent, I believe it was Ben Sullivan, to work with the men in Florida, and then Cam Hodges and a couple other members of the coaching staff went to Turkey for like a month and a half, 2 months. It was like a long time to work with Alperin. So they're real, like, everybody's doing their own thing, but the Rockets are really intentional about making sure that everybody gets what they need. But yeah, those would be my. Reed and Jabari looked really, really strong, and I'm like, if you look for this tonight with the Thunder, like, look at Jabari and just his build, because he's long, right? And sometimes the guys that are lengthy, they tend to look less strong. He looks strong, and then Alpi just looked super confident.
Okay, well, that's exciting to hear. And while we're on Şengün, did he share what he was working on most this offseason? Obviously, getting to play at such a high level.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more tread off the tires, on the tires. I don't know what the saying is, but you get what I'm trying to say here. Maybe going into the season, a little bit more fatigue. But he had said at the end of last year that he wants to come back stronger and in better shape. I'm assuming that Eurobasket could only help him achieve his goals there.
I think it did. And it's interesting you bring up, like, a lot of the guys that play in Eurobasket or play some competitive professional basketball over the summer, a lot of them come into training camp and they don't go at 100%, and it kind of you kind of get it, right? Like you've just played professional, but he came in and was like, nope, he went full throttle. Like I don't know if it was just his motivation. I don't know if it was also the fact that now he's practicing with Kevin Durant, but he didn't ease into anything. So you saw during the preseason at times the Rockets were kind of running things through Alperin. That plays into what you asked me a couple minutes ago about just that versatility of the roster. So I can't wait to see Alpi. I can't wait to see them playing through Alpi. I can't wait to see the way that he and KD complement each other's games. And last year you saw moments where when it was clicking with the men and Alperin at the same time, it was like, oh my God, like this could be deadly for teams. So I'm excited. It's the most excited I've been. And Alpi, of course, is a big part of that.
From Alpi to Amen, I think everyone's hoping to see his range increase. Tough to ask from one year to the next for massive improvements on that front, but also just by default, hey, it's one night, and as you mentioned, versatility, things could theoretically change for the Rockets on a night-to-night basis. But now, I mean, he's listed as the starting point guard going into the year. It's something he's done before. What has he worked on most this offseason?
He worked on his shot, which is something that he has just been really public about, and working on his overall game. I think he told me last year, like I asked him, do you think you're the best perimeter defender in the league? And he said, I think I'm the best defender in the league, period.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is really interesting is Ime said that even when he's playing point guard, his defensive assignments won't change. Like they plan to have him on the best player every night. And, that's a heavy workload. But if anybody can handle it, I think it's Amen Thompson. So he's a joy to watch. He is a joy to watch. And,
he's my favorite. It's not
oh my
close.
God. I mean, when he was like, people forget his rookie year, he was injured for a part of it. And then he actually had he was a little bit sick for a while. So his rookie year, it was like, people were like, oh, this kid's super athletic. Yay. And then last year it was like, whoa. And there was no surprise. Last summer, a year ago, he worked out with Team USA before they went to the Olympics. And it was like, I remember one of the Team USA assistants, I believe, Jim Boylan, was like, he was keeping up with, that's three of the greatest ever, LeBron, Steph, and Kevin Durant in that gym. So I think the secret is out on Amen. But I love it. You talk about football, like him and Tyler Hero and him and Jose Alvarado. Like, I love it. He was influenced by Dylan Brooks. Dylan rubbed off on him. So I love Amen. I mean, you're talking about both sides of the ball. But he worked on his overall game, definitely worked on that shot, and I think he's going to have a spectacular year.
Before I ask you about some other players and what they've worked on this offseason, Brooks is gone. I fell in love with the Dylan Brooks experience.
Oh my God, I know.
I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was so much better than I thought it possibly could be. If you've never had him on your team before, when he's on your team, you understand it. Even with the occasional nut shot, you still just love that intensity that he plays with. How is the locker room now without him, and obviously without Jalen Green as well?
Yeah, it's you're not going to get one of the greatest players of all time without having to give up a great player and a proven player like Dylan. Jalen still, obviously, the playoffs, he would be the first to admit he didn't perform the way he wanted to, but Jalen was a big part offensively of the Rockets. He was, somebody that grew with the team, but you cannot get a level of Kevin Durant without having to give up Jalen, Dylan, and that 10th pick. It just is what it is. So I'm going to miss them both. Dylan and I, being the same age, he and I became close. It's different. Like I travel with them, right? So I like meet their moms and meet their dads, and I'm really going to miss him. He was an underrated part of the Rockets, becoming the team that they did with that identity. And Fred, rightfully so, got a lot of the, credit for the way that they turned things around, as he should. but Dylan was, and the guys would admit it, like Amen and Tari would admit that Dylan was a big part of their growth. So I am really, really going to miss him. And I obviously just wish him and Jalen the best in, all the best in Phoenix. I think they're going to be really good alongside Devin Booker. I think they made a good hire with that coach. And I was able to talk to Dylan a little bit at Summer League after that trade. So I wish them all the best. And that matchup is going to be the Phoenix Houston one will be.
I saw Jalen Green said, "Hey, I'm coming for you guys." If
they're going to come for each other. That's what it should be. It should always be that competition.
To continue to go through some of the guys and changes over the off season. I did this thing where I was asking the biggest question for the Rockets going into the year. I'm just one out of curiosity that I don't know the answer to, but I'm guessing that Alperen Şengün versus Amen Thompson. I'm guessing Şengün will improve more just because of what Şengün did this offseason. I mean, if you're going in Eurobasket and playing at that level, you got to be super confident going into next season. So that was one tier of guys that I was having. Who's going to be taking the bigger step forward going into the next year? The other question I had was about Tari Eason versus Jabari Smith Jr. So I'm curious what Tari was working on this offseason. We know he believes he's a top 100 player, and he definitely feels like he's got a lot to prove after that Warriors series, which was a disappointing one. Plus, with the addition of the shit talking from a Draymond Green after the fact, I'm sure that's going to be motivational fuel too.
Yeah, I mean, I did those one-on-one interviews on Media Day that will be airing on Rockets All Access over the next few weeks. And so I never want to say exactly what, I let the guys say what they're working on and give the specifics. But, everybody's career is different year by year, right? Okay, so Amen had his breakout year last year. I think that could be Jabari this year. I think that we could see a lot of guys take those steps, and it's dependent too on how the team is playing and how they are making those lineups and everything. So if the question is what do I think Tari's going to work on everything. I think Tari's going to be the tough-nosed defender that is going to make your life a living hell when he steps into the game. And the other thing is with Dylan, with the Rockets not having Dylan Brooks anymore, they need that. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he do. I really hope that he can stay healthy. He has looked awesome at training camp so far. And, I know the Rockets are such big fans of him, rightfully so. So I think that he could take over, maybe not quite the villain role. There's only one Dylan Brooks, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Tari can do. And from a big picture perspective, you brought up the playoffs with the Warriors, and I'm glad you did. That was such an important thing for those guys to get out of the way. Your first playoff experience. Yes, of course, they wish that they could have advanced. But after the game, Ime said to them in that locker room, remember this feeling, remember this disappointment. And so I think they all learned a lot. And, they're coming back ready, not to be like we said, last year they shocked the league. They're not shocking anybody this year. So, and they know that. They
showed a lot of resilience in that Warriors series, falling in the 3-1 hole, forcing the game 7.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely have that to go with going forward. You're mentioning filling that Dylan the villain role. I'm sure when Dorian Finney-Smith is healthy as well, that he's going to want to step in. One of my favorite moments from Rockets Media Day was basically everything Dorian Finney-Smith said. Specifically, I got a kick out of him saying, hey, I mean, I know Amen Thompson always wants to cover the best guy offensively, but I want to do it myself.
I know. Yeah. I mean, the Ime has and Royale, who obviously Royale is just a defensive guru, so smart. They've talked about that. They're like, there's going to be a lot of guys that want to guard the best player on a night-to-night basis. So, with Dorian, I'm really excited to see what he can do. Every team that Doe has been on, every team that he has been on, people just fall in love with him. And so I have no doubt that he's going to be a great guy for the culture. And he's one of those, he's not in the Jeff Green and Kevin Durant age range, but he's also not in the Tari Jabari Amin age range. He and Josh Okogie, like Jayshawn Tate, like they're those guys that have years in the league under their belt, but are still, also improving on a year-to-year basis. So I have loved seeing what he can do so far. Love the way that he fits in with the team. And, there's no player that was going to join this organization that isn't great on defense, or at least has strong defense. Like, that is just not an option. And you saw it, the first year that this coaching staff was here. Like, if you were not going to play on the other side, you were going to sit on the bench. Didn't matter what your name was, how much money you were getting paid, how highly you were drafted. So I think Dorian is a lovely fit to the culture for sure. I can't wait to see him play.
A lot to be excited about for this year. We are recording this before the tip-off against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but with now 81 games to go this regular season, for you, Vanessa Richardson, Space City Home Network Rockets sideline reporter, what is the biggest question that you have for this season?
The biggest question I have for this season, if I'm going big picture, I'm going to say, that's really hard. Can I pick like a couple?
Sure. Spitfire. Let's go.
The development of the young core and how they're impacted by having one of the greatest ever on the team. Because I think all the young guys are very moldable and very malleable and want to learn. I would say, in a loaded Western Conference, how the consistency is going to be key. So I think that there are Western Conference storylines that I think are very, very fascinating. And then, how they're going to utilize the versatility and depth of the team to propel them throughout the season. I think there are a lot of really fun storylines. I love the storyline of what is Alperin going to do after that insane Eurobasket summer. I love the storyline of, Amin Thompson put the league on notice, and now you're going to see more Jose Alvarados and Tyler Heroes poking at him. There are a lot of storylines that I love, and they're not all about Kevin Durant. There are a lot of great storylines involving the young guys too.
She is my sister from another mister, and I always appreciate hanging out with my old radio co-host. Vanessa, really excited to see what the season has in store for the Rockets, for you, both on Space City Home Network and on ESPN from time to time. And I will see you outside of this interview setting in the very near future, I'm sure.
Yes, always love talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Love you, dog.
Love you, dog. Bye.
Vanessa's the best. Always great to catch up with her. I'm very jealous that she's going to get to cover this team this year. We'll see what they do. But the honeymoon period probably will be over by the end of the year. That's just how these things work. They caught a lot of teams off guard last year. This year, everyone's coming for them. There's actual expectations behind them. I would encourage you to be patient, as she said, about Reed Shepherd. Patient about this team that doesn't have a point guard. It's an 82-game slate. More than anything, you just want them to be healthy by the end of the year. Health matters more to me, and slowly figuring things out matters more to me than what I see the first couple of weeks of the season. But that's exactly what I said about the Houston Texans. And I'm getting more and more concerned about what's going on at NRG Stadium by the day. First off, let's start off resetting something that I caught during CJ Stroud's press conference after the Seahawks took him down on Monday Night Football. I talked about this on Sports Radio 610 with Reggie in more detail, but am I crazy here? Or is CJ Stroud pointing the fingers at the offensive coordinator?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I think first I got to, point to myself and, missing a couple throws. You just I gotta work through the pressure. You know, bring some blitzes. Gotta just do some things. You know, to run some different schemes. I think it will help, but. I just think we just didn't catch a rhythm. The type of offense we're running is like, you know, like I told y'all, death by 1,000 cuts. And sometimes when you live by that sport, it's hard because, you know, you're not taking a bunch of deep downfield shots, but you're asked to be, you know, really good on first, second down, time and time again, and something that we just got to get better at. It's still new to a lot of us, but yeah, I definitely think, you know, we can be better at that, and that'll definitely help. We were in a lot of situations where, you know, they really didn't show, you know, zero blitz on film on second and long when you're kind of backed up. So that one kind of just caught us off guard. But when it's loud, it's hard to, you know, sometimes get the protections right, and you got to just sometimes throw hot. Sometimes you can pick it up. So it's a little bit in between, but it's something definitely we got to look at and get better at because, you know, we've gotten it a couple weeks in a row. So, yeah, I think if we can do that, we can, you know, hit some bigger plays.
I'm going to leave that up to you. We'll hear more from CJ Stroud, I'm sure, the rest of the week. Meanwhile, you've got DeMeco Ryans, and yesterday's DeMeco Ryans press conference does not have me feeling better about the direction of this organization. First off, DeMeco Ryans just keeps babying the offense. I actually talked about this on Channel 11 before the Texans game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I'm with Seth. I do think they're being coached hard behind closed doors. I think when we look at what DeMeco has been saying publicly about the defense and offense going back a year, he's going to hold the defense to a much higher standard, and he should. We're talking about a defense that has the potential to be one of the top 5 in the NFL this season. And then we see him talk about the offense, and I mean, he's coddling them a little bit. It's frustrating if you go back to last year and see him doing the same thing, but to me, this is a lot like if a parent is treating a couple of different kids, the defense is being treated like the oldest, and as my sister would probably complain about, the youngest maybe is getting a little bit off scot-free from time to time when they're not doing what they're expected to do. It's going to take time for this offense to get going this season, though. So I get why DeMeco's doing it. I think if you're a fan of this team, you're just sick of hearing the same old rhetoric about how this offense is actually looking good.
You got it Monday night after the game.
Do you feel like the offense kind of regressed tonight?
Today wasn't a good day for our entire team. Right? It's not just one side. All 3 phases did not do a great job today.
And then you got more of it yesterday.
Now that you've had a chance to review the tape, what are some of the issues that you feel like are facing the offense that are really holding you guys back? Obviously, there was a lot of production the previous 2 weeks, but this time that wasn't the case. And have a fast follow-up. Thank you.
Yeah, for us as collectively as a team, like we have to do our jobs, right? If we expect to win, we have to do our job, not offense. It was just on the offense, but it's all 3 phases. Guys have to do their job.
I don't know how you can point the finger at anybody other than the offense for Monday night's game. Sure, the defense had its moments where you're like, what the fuck was that penalty? Sure, the special teams had questionable moments as well. Why is Braxton Berrios in for Jalen Noel? Why couldn't Kaimi Fairbairn kick the ball out of the back of the end zone? But I don't know. The Seahawks turned the ball over 4 times, and you lost that game. Who do you point at other than the offense for that? But he babies them. Questions about Nick Caley's future? Nick Caley's sticking around. He even said it.
Coach, when you were hired, you brought Bobby Sloak over, a first-time offensive play caller, and then after 2 years, you all relieved him of his duty and brought in Nick Caley. But after 6 games, it seems like you all are still dealing with some of the same issues that you dealt with when Bobby was here. At what point do you have that assessment, or how many games does it take for you to see this is with the direction we want to go and give it a little more time, or maybe make a change?
No, look, we're pressing forward with everybody that we have. We're pressing forward with everybody that we have. We're collectively all in this together, and it all starts with me. So if you guys want to point the finger at somebody or put it on somebody, put it on me. That's my job, and ultimately it's my job to get it fixed. So, and that's how it'll be. But we're rolling with what we have. and we got to just all do better. Got to coach it better. We got to play better. We got to execute better on game day.
I'm also wondering if the team's listening, given what I just said about Kaimi Fairbairn. Supposedly the plan was for Kaimi Fairbairn to kick the ball out of the back of the end zone before that last Seahawks possession where they got the first down thanks to a Tim Settle unnecessary roughness. They're blaming that on the whistle. But also, 2 times during his press conference yesterday, DeMeco pointed out that Derek Stingley was supposed to be playing in tighter coverage, press coverage, with Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. Not once, but twice.
What kind of went into the decision to not have Stingley press as often against JSN? Giving JSN free releases is a receiver that good. That's kind of almost that sense taking candy from a baby. So what kind of went into not having Stingley press JSN more often to disrupt the timing within his routes?
Yeah, our game plan was to, as I stated earlier in the week, to make sure we're aggressive, make sure we're getting hands-on and playing them tight and sticky. That was our game plan.
Just to follow up on that, my previous question, so I guess in those instances when Stingley's in off coverage, is that a decision by you guys, a decision by him? Like what kind of goes into, again, giving JSN when he's matched up against, one of you guys' best corner, give him off coverage and not necessarily disrupt him at the line of scrimmage versus the top of the route?
Again, our game plan was to get hands on JSN, play him aggressive, right? Challenge him each and every snap. That was our game plan.
So those 2 examples, and then this quote talking about what the offensive line wasn't doing should have you concerned.
What was the conversation like for you guys about things on the offensive line that were frustrating last night?
Yeah, I think the most frustrating thing for me is things we've covered, things we've worked in practice, and we get in the game and it's not getting done. We're doing something different. We're doing things that we're not coached to do. That's the most frustrating thing.
I'm feeling worse the more I hear from DeMeco Ryans. They're sticking with this offense with everybody that we have. He's starting to do the Bill O'Brien, it's on me, going back to babying the offense when asked about some of the struggles on offense. And he's going back to some of the stuff he did last year, which was gaslighting. He didn't quite say, we're close, which he's said earlier this year. But do not try and tell us that that was a 1-score game.
And look, as bad as it seems, I tell guys at the end of the day, we're still 1 possession from getting that game, tied.
We all watched it, didn't feel like it because of the Texans' inability to take advantage of 4 Seahawks turnovers. And was it 10 penalties, 11 penalties, 12 penalties? But that's what he said. He also said that he thinks that the Texans are better at left guard when they're rotating Juice Scruggs and Laken Tomlinson in.
You spoke highly of EJ Speed, and in the past, you've talked about players like him earning the right for more opportunity. Based on the 2 previous games where Laken Tomlinson wasn't out there, and up till yesterday where he was out there for the majority, what did he do to earn the right to get more reps yesterday?
Yeah, for us, rotating both of those guys is a matter of just felt like when those guys rotated and we had a better situation at left guard. That's the reason behind it.
And he said that he liked what he saw from Jalen Noel Monday night.
I thought Jalen Noel was phenomenal. He showed up. He was probably our most explosive player when it came to pushing the ball downfield. Right, again, we have multiple guys who can make those plays. It's just a matter of mixing it up, getting the ball to him. But I thought he showed up big time for us in some real critical moments there at the end of the half. Also on a big time 4th down catch for us to extend the drive. Jalen has that big play ability in him, so I'm excited to see him continue to flourish in that role.
But he's playing less than Braxton Berrios. What the fuck?
DeMeco, you all started Braxton Berrios on Monday night over Jalen Noel. How is that decision made, and why did you all decide to have Berrios play over Noah in the return game?
Yeah, it's my decision that I made. Wanted to get Berrios up, give him an opportunity to return. He's done a good job of, really fielding the football and gave him an opportunity there to return versus Seattle.
I'm getting concerned about the direction of this Texans organization. I've already asked the question 11 months ago about what DeMeco Ryans' ceiling is as a head coach, but it doesn't feel like all aspects of the team have the same level of accountability. The offense seems to have excuses made for it. Maybe he points the finger at CJ Stroud, but he won't point the finger at the offensive line. He won't point the finger at the coaches. I guess pointing fingers doesn't really help anything either, but the offense gets babied. It doesn't seem like players are listening to him. And it feels like the same positivity about being close is still being preached to this team. Well, why the fuck else would Titus Howard admit that the Texans are complacent after 15 days off after losing on Monday night? Something's amiss. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not there for every single practice, for every single meeting, but oh boy. If you're not concerned about specifically DeMeco Ryans, in addition to CJ Stroud and Nick Haley and Nick Caserio, but you have to be concerned about him. If you're not, I want to know what kind of fairy tale place you're living in. Under the sea, under the sea. Maybe that's where you're at. Anyway, that's going to wrap up today's pre-recorded edition of the Gallant Says podcast. Normally, we interact with you a little bit more. We appreciate you so much for joining on YouTube. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. On Twitch, give me a sub, give me a follow if you haven't already. Facebook, at Paul Gallant Sports, give me a like. On Instagram and TikTok, we sometimes air this show as well when it's live. At Sports Gallant on Instagram, on TikTok, at Gallant Says, on X/Twitter, at Gallant Says Pod. After the fact, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe, rate, review. I am merely Paul Gallant. So long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
And have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday. Peace.